hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch a hot topic to you guys, and then you guys turn around, create your own content on said topic, and you can come at it from a variety of different angles and come up with your own subjects as they pertain to said topic, and we can kind of embroider this topic together. For this week, I got a little bit of indie author folly for you guys. Indie author folly. What I'm looking for here is I want you guys to share the public relations, the business practices, or marketing strategies of indie authors that make you cringe. Okay? Now, this week, maybe not so cringy. Not so cringy, but this is a subject that I kind of maybe touched upon earlier in this kind of ongoing discussion here, but never really went into too much detail. I kind of want to just kind of touch on it a little bit more, so maybe if there's any kind of misunderstanding as far as my stance on this goes, and that is when indie authors debut. When indie authors make their literary debut with a book from a planned series. Okay. Now, I will just say right out the gate with a little right out the gate here, I don't think that this is folly. I don't think that this is, I would consider this folly as much as I would just from a business standpoint, I would say it's more falls under the, in the realm of risky. Okay. Not so much folly or a blunder as much as you're taking on risk. Okay. From a business sense. So let me kind of hash this out. So there are some exceptions to this, of course. So what are the exceptions? So the obvious exception to this is if you are planning to be a self-published or independent author, okay, and your debut novel is going to be one of a planned series of books, okay, whether it's a duology, a trilogy, or the uncommon tetralogy. Don't hear those too often. The tetralogy. What would be a tetralogy? A tetralogy, I imagine if you were going to do a tetralogy, maybe the YAs would have tetralogies. Tetralogies. Think like if you're like, oh, okay, you're going to do a 4-book series, and it could be their freshman year, their sophomore year, their junior year, and their senior year. There you go. There's your tetralogy. Anyways, so the first exception, if you're planning on making your debut as an indie author, and the first book that you're going to publish or have published is going to be part of a series, then book 1 of your series needs to turn out to be a complete banger. That's right. You need to knock that shit out of the park. It has to be a superb introduction to the series that leaves the readers thirsty for more. You might be thinking to yourself, John, obviously, right? Who's aiming for mediocrity, right? That is a good question. Who is aiming for mediocrity? No one wants to be mundane. You know, you don't want to put out a mediocre product. You know, you don't want to have a mediocre debut. All I'm saying is it may be the obvious. That's why I say it's the obvious. But if what I'm really saying here is that's the book of your series that you should have the most time sunk into. The most time sunk into. Now, another exception to this, which kind of dovetails, is if your first book as an indie author, your debut is going to be one of a series, then perhaps you already have people that want to support what you do. Okay. In other words, you already have a solid base. It could be 10, 12, 15, maybe 20 or 30 or so people in your personal life that just want to support what it is that you're doing. Okay. Now, this has more to do with the marketing. Okay. Like before the publishing part. So, in other words, another way of looking at it is like you want to build up some, perhaps hype is not the best word to use, because hype can fall flat once the finished product comes out, and that could come back to bite you in the ass and blow up in your face. But if it's from genuine folks who are just like, they really just are ride or die for whatever it is you do, these could be your friends, family, what have you, okay? And these are just people that want to support what you do, then yeah, maybe that could be an exception. And it might be okay to just go ahead and green light that project and say, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. From a business standpoint, mind you, okay? Because if it's just an artistic thing and it's just a personal project and you just put it out there, fair enough. Fair enough. If you don't care about, the sales, whatnot, what have you, because if you go into it and you don't have a support base of, you don't have a base of supporters, base, level of interest, if you will, before it's published, God forbid, after it's published, now you're playing catch up and you're trying to generate interest for something that's already been on the market for a while, then it might be difficult. Now, say you have that hardcore support group. You could have that hardcore support group. This could be friends, acquaintances. Say you got Booktube friends, right? You've made a bunch of friends in the Booktube community that will be there to support you when you launch your series. Okay, that's a plus, because now you have people that are on a platform and might be willing to say a few words about your project, and kind of get the word out there. That's pretty good. Now, those people might be willing to read book one, and those people who are your hardcore supporters, just because they're maybe friends, family, what have you, there's a personal connection there, they might be willing to read the series over a period of time. People who aren't, though, might look into it, and if book one isn't a banger, if book one fails to hook, then it's going to be the law of diminishing returns after that, because now you got to deal with the fact that you got a bunch of people that read book one, but now you're spending your time and you may have book two ready to go for publish, and you're starting to get some negative feedback about book one. But now here you are with book two, and you're getting ready to publish book two. You're going into publishing with book two, dealing with negative feedback from book one. And then where you're going to be at when you have to start writing book three, knowing that the vast majority of people who read book one aren't going to be continuing to book two.